So now we come to the third day in verses 9 to 13. And here on the third day we have the creation of land, of earth, and the creation of vegetation. Verse 9 says, "Then God said, 'Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear.' And it was so." Just like that. Immediately, dry land appears. "And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good." His creation was good. So God now is creating a place for mankind to live on the earth. And he caused the dry land to appear out of the water. Psalm 95 says, "The sea is his, for he made it, and his hands formed the dry land." And so God caused the dry land to appear. He also sets a boundary for the seas. Again, Psalm 33, he assigned the sea its boundaries, and he locked the oceans in vast reservoirs. So from creation we see, from this creation account, we see that God commands the oceans, and he commands the dry land to appear. God has power over the seas. He has power over the land. He has authority over them. He speaks, and the water moves away, and the dry land appears. Now, this is not the only time in the Bible that we see God gather the waters together to make dry land appear. In the Exodus story, remember? The Exodus story, the children of Israel, they depart from Egypt, and they come to the Red Sea. They hit a dead end. We're told in Exodus chapter 14 that they were shut in by the mountains. They had mountains on each side of them. They've got the Dead Sea, or the Red Sea in front of them, and they've got Pharaoh and his army chasing after them from behind. And what did God do? God parted the waters of the Red Sea. And it says he caused the dry land to appear. And they walked through the midst of the Red Sea on dry land, on dry ground. Then in the book of Joshua, when the children of Israel came to the edge of the promised land, God parted the Jordan River, and they walked through the Jordan River on dry ground, it says. In 2 Kings, Elijah the prophet, we're told, he took his mantle, his coat, and he rolled it up, and he hit the waters of the Jordan River, and the waters parted. And Elijah and Elisha walked together on dry land through the Jordan River. After that, Elijah, if you remember the story, he is taken up to heaven in a chariot of fire. And as he goes up to heaven, his mantle falls. And Elisha, the prophet, picks up his mantle, and he goes back to the Jordan River, and he rolls up the mantle just like Elijah did, and he hits the water, and the water then parts for Elisha, the prophet, and Elisha walks through on dry ground as well, just like Elijah did. So there's several times in the Bible where God gathered the waters and caused the dry land to appear, that he showed his power over the waters, over the seas, over the land, over his creation. You come to the New Testament, right? The New Testament, Jesus and his disciples are out in a boat on the Sea of Galilee, and they get caught in a storm. The disciples think they're going to perish, and Jesus stands up, and it says he rebukes the wind and the waves, and immediately there's a calm. The storm didn't just gradually dissipate and the clouds just kind of go off. It says immediately it's gone. And it was so. Yes. And after he did that, the disciples wondered among themselves, who is this that even the wind and the waves obey him? Now they're Jews. They know their Old Testament. They know all the times going all the way back to creation, to Genesis 1, when God divided the waters, when God caused the dry land to appear, when he demonstrated his power over the seas. And so now they're in the boat saying, well, who is this guy that even the wind and the waves obey him? Now, that wasn't the only time the disciples got caught in a storm on the Sea of Galilee. They get caught a second time. The second time, Jesus isn't with them, which, by the way, we go through storms in life, right? And we kind of have storm 101, and then God puts us into storm 102, right? Storm 101, he's in the boat with us. Jesus is right there. He takes care of everything. Storm 102, now he kind of sends us out there on our own for a little bit. We're graduating up. Storm 102, Jesus comes walking on the water. He gets in the boat with them. He calms the storm. And this time, the disciples, it says, worshipped him, and they said, truly, you are the Son of God. Right? They got it. This is the Creator. This is the Creator who in Genesis, he divided the firmament. In Genesis, he gathered the waters together in one place and allowed the dry land to appear. This is the God who in Exodus parted the Red Sea. This is the God who parted the Jordan River for Joshua and then for Elijah and Elisha. Truly, this is the Son of God. So now at this point in creation, the sky, the sea, and the land are established. So the physical structures are in place. The physical structures are complete, and now God can fill them with life. And that's what he does. Look at verse 11. Then God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, the herb that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And God saw that it was good, and so evening and morning were the third day. I don't know if you noticed here, but on the third day, God said it was good twice on the third day. It's the only day of creation that he says it is good twice. He says it in verse 10, and then he says it again in verse 12. The third day is doubly good. It's twice as good as all the other days. Now, for this reason, because it says that the third day is good twice, for this reason, Jews traditionally have their weddings on the third day of the week, which is Tuesday. A few years ago, we had a group in Israel. We were doing a tour, and we were in Caesarea Maritima, Caesarea by the Sea, very beautiful, ancient Roman city on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea, and it was a Tuesday. We actually landed that day, that morning, and went right to Caesarea by the Sea, and we're doing the tour. So we just got off the plane, and we're there, and it was a Tuesday, and there was a couple, a bride and a groom, that were having their wedding photos taken on Tuesday. And I immediately started to explain Genesis here, and that the Jews have their wedding on the third day of the week, but we just had an overnight flight, and I couldn't remember what the third day of the week was. I didn't know what day it was. I knew it was the third day of the week because they were getting married, but I couldn't tell you it was Tuesday. So now here, if you're a note taker, you can jot down John chapter 2, verse 1. In John chapter 2, verse 1, you have the wedding in Cana. And it says in John chapter 2, verse 1, on the third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee. On Tuesday, the third day. So, third day of creation, it's doubly good, twice as good. That's why they have weddings on that day. On the third day of creation, God filled the earth with vegetation. And we see here that he gives three categories of vegetation. God said, let the earth bring forth grass. That includes grass and grain. Then the herb that yields seed, so that would be herbs and vegetables. And the third category of vegetation, the fruit trees. The fruit trees that yield fruit according to its kind. And notice in verse 12, the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. So the vegetation was created fully mature, fruitful, producing, and it was so. Like he said it, boom, there it is. He created it having a seed within itself, which means it's self-perpetuating. God doesn't need to keep recreating vegetation. He created it once, has a seed within it, and it's able to reproduce. He designed it with reproduction built into the vegetation. Isn't that amazing? When you think about it, as we go through this, the ability to reproduce is just built into the vegetation, animals, and humans. That's just amazing to me. Have you noticed that the fruit that you buy now at the stores doesn't have seeds in it anymore? Right? You get a seedless watermelon, seedless grapes, seedless oranges. And when you happen to have a seed in your orange, you're bothered by it. Like, you bought the wrong oranges. These have seeds. I found a seed in my orange. Remember how many seeds used to be in oranges? How many seeds used to be in watermelons? It really makes me a little uneasy that we have engineered the seeds out of fruit. I'm not saying like for biblical reasons or anything, but I'm just thinking one day we're going to say, man, I sure wish we had those seeds. Something's going to happen.